Okay, so we've got a couple videos we're making for demonstrating how we're going to build our metal dice here. We're going to do kind of video one, that's going to be this one, on how do we take our two flat pieces of 2 by 6 and then make them into actual cube. And then we'll have a part 2 on how do we actually put the holes, where they located, how do we drill them, how do we countersink or taper them like that and make it look how it's supposed to look. So the metal you're going to get approximately 6 inches long. It should be at least 6. If it's under 6, let's say 5 and 15/16, that will still work. 5 and 7/8 might work, but you might need to see me in class if it's a little bit smaller than that. 6 inches is what it should be set at. If it's over 6 inches, we can go ahead and just scribe a line at 6 inches here and then just grind down to that line to make it 6 inches if you want. So we're going to grab our tape measure, and everything should be square on the stock because when we cut it square. So this is exactly 6 inches, and so I'm going to grab my scribe. I don't like using a pen or pencil. I want to be really accurate with this. And on these scribes, they're super pointy. They got they come to a taper and then they kind of extend out a little bit more. If that's worn down, let me know. I'll give you a new tip. But I'm just going to put a little mark right here at 2. I'm going to scratch through the mill scale a little bit, put a little mark there, and then I'm going to put one at 4. And then we'll get our square out and we'll square this up. So I'm just going to put a little mark right there at 4. Try and be as accurate as you can. That looks pretty good. Then I'm going to grab a square. And one way to know you're lined up on that mark is I like putting my scribe right on that scratch that we made and then bringing my square right to that scratch that we've already created. Once it's there, I want to hold that nice and tight, and then I'm going to scribe a nice line. I would go at least twice, 3 times, and then it should look like that. Okay, and I'm going to do that on both marks, and I'm going to do this on both pieces. So I'm going to line that up there on my other mark. Go ahead and scribe it. Okay, I've got that one. And then we'll go ahead and do our other one again. Just double check. Make sure it is 6 inches on your other piece. And I'm a little bit longer than 6. I'm like 6 1/16, I'd say, on this one. So that will be okay. If it is longer and you don't want to cut it down, what you can do is I'm going to take this in my tape measure. This tape measure, for the first foot, it goes to the 32nd of an inch. So I'm going to take this to 2 1/32, that first mark past the 2, and then the 4, I'm going to take that to 4 1/32. I'm going to put a mark right there. That way in between, it's going to be exactly 2, and then I'll have just a little bit, I'll have a 32nd on each end, and that way I don't have to cut anything down. That will be fine. Okay, so again, we're going to bring our scribe to our scratch mark there and slide down the square to where that scratch mark is. Go ahead and scratch that in. There's the next one. Okay. Also, once you've done this, make sure, just double check, get your tape measure out, make sure that you are actually at those marks before you move on, and that looks pretty good. This one, I moved it, I'm offset a little bit, but in the middle, that's exactly 2. And then I'm a 32nd over on each end. That looks perfect right there. Okay, so now that we have this, we can go ahead and we're going to go ahead and score a line over on this. Yeah, let's do that first. I was going to say we could take the mill scale off. I don't want to do that just yet. I actually want to score these lines so we can bend this, and then we'll take off the mill scale. So let's go over to our bandsaw and let's put some marks on this. Okay, so now that I've got these 2 lines scribed on here, what I want to do is I'm going to notch this. I want to go about halfway through my piece, but no more than 3/4. So what we're going to do is we're going to put some marks on the end here. I'm just going to use my bandsaw blade. I'm going to notch it there, and there, and there, and there. It's going to help me when I'm locating where my bend is going to go, as well as how I'm going to line this up to actually put this notch in there. So we're going to go ahead and turn this on. I'm going to notch it here and here, then here and here. So these notches now that we've created here and here on both sides, this is going to help us locate where we're going to just put a notch right on our line that we scored with our scribe. So all I'm going to do is turn this on, bring that right to my line, pick it up, and you can notice my little notch here lines up with my line there. So let's go ahead and do this. Again, I'm just going to bring this up. I don't want to cut into that, but I'm just going to lift that up and push that in right there. So let's go turn it on, give it a shot. So I want to check it on both ends. I want to go through about halfway. I'm not quite there, you can see. Not quite there yet on that side, and I'm almost there on that side. What I can do is if I'm not quite far enough on the bottom, I'm going to apply a little bit more pressure on the bottom than the top. If I'm a little bit less on the top, I'm going to push a little bit harder on the top than the bottom, and that way that'll even that out. But again, I only want to go about half. That's where I want to stop, or a maximum 2/3 through my piece. So let's finish this up and do the other piece. So here we got our cut. You can see I'm not quite on the line, but I'm close enough. That's going to be fine. And I'm halfway through there and halfway through there. A couple tips on this saw. Make sure that if you've got chips on here before you start, go ahead and use a brush to brush those off. Don't use your hand. And also, as far as how much pressure I'm pushing on here, just light to medium pressure I'm applying here. You don't have to press really hard. Let that blade do the work for you. You pushing this in there harder is not going to make it cut faster and will actually dull this blade prematurely. So we don't want to do that. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I like how that's looking. And so once I got both of these done, I'm going to go ahead and grind off my mill scale on the face here and on my two edges here, and then we can go bend it. Okay, so I've got my two pieces notched. We're going to put it in the break here and go ahead and fold this. It doesn't matter if we push this in all the way to this point or to this point. You can do it however you like, but your notch where you notch this needs to be facing down, not facing up, because we're going to actually fold on that seam. But I want to line that up with my finger right where the notch is on that side. Line it up there, make sure we're nice and square. I'm going to lock this down. Looks good right there. And we're going to go ahead and fold this. I want to put this at about 90 degrees. Right about there. Looks good. And we're going to go ahead and do it again. Pull this forward, line it up on your notch we made. And if it's easier, if you want to draw a line across from edge to edge just to know where this line should line up on that finger, you can do that too just to make it easier. But you should be able to see on either end where the notch is. So go ahead and I'm going to fold this again. We don't want to go too far. It's good right about there. Okay, and then we can get a square out. If you want to get a square out and check it, but it should look something like that. It should have a nice square edge here, nice square edge there. And if we need to pull it out a little bit or manipulate it a little bit, we can do that. So let's do our second piece. Again, we're going to feed this in, line it up, put those notches face down, not face up, face down. Okay. And you'll notice I did this just the first one, so what I'm going to have to do is flip it, take it out, flip it around, go this way. We'll line it up. And there we go. Looks pretty good. Okay, do it again. And that looks pretty good. I'm going to pull this side out a little bit. So what I can do is just pull this down, and I just have this bar here. You get in there and just pry that up a little bit. if we need to straighten it out a little. Looks all right. It looks like I still got a little bit of an arc there for where we didn't pound that flat. We still might be okay with that, but when I put these together, if we did it right, I'm gonna pull this one out a little bit. There we go. And I still need to grind these down, but it should look something like that, right? Should be even all the way around. I shouldn't have it off to one side. These should line up pretty nicely on our edges, and we can fill that in a little bit should we need to with our weld. So this looks pretty good. So now I'm going to take it, and I still have to take all the mill scale off. So I'm going to take the mill scale off all these faces and off the edges, and then we'll go tack it up. Okay, so we've got our two sides to make our cube. It should go together nicely, and this one fits nice and snug. I want to make sure that it is nice and tight all the way around. It doesn't have any gaps or one side's off. And if one side's off, we can fix that. Another thing you can do if it's a little loose, we'll get just two straps that we're using to bend, and we can actually set that up on the sides here to kind of keep this side in the right position while we're welding and tacking with it. So I'm going to just tack weld this. This is the right one side, one bottom, and the other side. I'm going to just tack that right here, and then I'm going to come over here. I'm going to tack that right there. Now, when I'm tacking this, what I like to do is I don't want to just take my gun and stick it right there. Let's grab our gun. I'm not going to put that in and just jam it right in that corner, because more than likely I'm going to go right through that corner and into the inside of my cube. What I like to do is start here, start on that edge, bring it up like that, and then stop. What I do is I go hit the trigger, 1/1002, stop. That's all I need when I put this tack on. So I'm going to do one in this corner, start on this flat, start down, 1/1002, just twist it up, and then I'm going to flip it around, flip my cube to the other side, right, start on that flat right there, 1/1002, and stop. Okay, pick it up, make sure it's all nice and square where that tack is, flip it to the other side, and I'm going to put one right here, right, start on that flat, 1/1002, turn it around, get that corner right there, put it right there, 1/1002, and then I can go and do that corner, flip it back around, and hit my other two corners there. Double check it again, make sure everything's square with it tacked, make sure it lines up, it's nice, square, I don't have one side that's off compared to the other, and then we can go ahead and lay our bead down here. Now, when I'm doing this, what I like to do is I'm going to build up a bead right there. I'm just going to build that up right in that corner. And you can do this a couple ways. Some people like kind of curling it like this. Okay, I'm going a little fast. What I like to do is build that up. I don't want to hold this at an angle of 45. I actually want to be like here, but for demonstration purposes, I'm going to tip this down so you can see the tip there. Okay, so what I want to do is start here, build up the puddle a little bit, and then I'm just going to touch, 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 touch. My goal is to touch the edge of this every time I go across. That works out really nice for me. I get really good results like that. Some people like to do it, you can build it up like this, and they just like doing E. So come back around through the puddle, come back through the puddle, come back through the puddle. You can try that too. But I have really good success just kind of touching back and forth, just kind of weaving it back and forth. And I'm just going to go until I go all the way off the cube. Once I get that side done, I don't want to just come around this side. It's going to be too much heat in this. I want to go ahead and turn this, flip it, so that weld that I just did is down here. And then I'm going to put my next weld right there. After I do that, now I can't go 180 because I just did that bottom. I'm just going to pick, for example, right there. I can do that one, flip it 180, lay it right there. And I keep working my way around, trying not to get in the same spot or be right next to where I just welded previous, and that's going to help this minimize. You're going to get some distortion, but it will minimize the amount of distortion you're going to get when you're welding. So always try and pick a side opposite of where you just welded to kind of help distribute that heat, and you should be good. So let's put a bead down and let's see how it looks. We're ready to go ahead and tack this up. We want to make sure our machine, make sure we got a couple things. One, our settings need to be our feed 18 volts, and then our feed's going to be about 240. Make sure your gas is on, and it's where it should be. And then we're going to grab a larger piece or something to kind of hold this. This might work. I don't need something real heavy, but I just don't want this to move on me. You can get a heavier piece of steel and just lay it on top or clamp it. That also would work. And then we're going to go ahead and tack this up. I'm just going to start right here on this flat and just curl that up right there. See, this is kind of moving on me. I'm going to get something a little bit heavier. That's going to be perfect right there. So let's try. I'm just going to try and move it with this. That's pretty good. All right, so let's go ahead and tack this up. Welding. Oh, still moving on me. All right. Welding. Okay, flip it around. Grab the other corner. Get it where I want. Right there, welding. Actually, that didn't do much. You'll notice I actually did this where the bend was, not on the seam. So I'm going to put one more just right there, because that's tack's not doing anything. Don't weld on where you just bent it, like I just did. Put it where you actually have the two coming together. So welding. That's better. That looks good. Okay, so I'm going to check this. It still looks pretty square. I like how it looks. I might bring that down a little bit, but I don't need much. See right there. I feel like it's kind of pushing out. And if that's the case, what we can do is we're just put a clamp right there, put some pressure down, and bring that down where we want it. So let's grab a clamp if we need one. Just want to bring this side down just a hair. Bring that down just a little bit. Perfect. That's where we want it. Take that time to do this right now, right? Because I don't want to have to try and do this later or try and undo this or do something weird. Get it lined up where you want, and then we can go ahead and tack this. So I'm going to do it here, here, here. I'm going to just do it all four corners. All right, here we go. Welding. It's good. I'm going to get the other side. And final corner on this side. And we'll double check this. Oh, it looks pretty good. Okay, so we need 3 more here. So I'm going to hit here and then we'll go there. Put that back on. It lines up pretty good. I'm just going to put this here and then we'll move it. One more. I like it. It looks really good. Got a little porosity right there, but that will be okay. The gas is on, but still I got a little porosity there. Okay. So now we got our everything tacked. I'm going to check it one more time. Make sure we're square still all the way around. That still looks really good. I like how we're looking here. And we'll just start right there. We want to brush this off. We always want to brush our corners where all that was every single time. Make sure it's nice and clean. And I'll go ahead and put a bead right there. So again, I want to put something here just to kind of keep it from moving on me, and get it to where you want it. and understand where you're going to go before you go there. So if this isn't comfortable, go ahead and move it. It's a little uncomfortable. It's a little too close. It's a little too close. I'm going to back this up. Let's put that right about there. Let's see if that'll work better. Yeah, I like that better. Okay. I think my hand's in the way here. Let's see. So I'm just going to put my hand here. Let's turn it this way a little bit more. There we go. Get you a little closer here. And I'm going to just take my hand and just weave that. Just like that. Okay. Here we go. Welding. Start my puddle up on the end here. And it's going to go from corner to corner. You can see I put a little bit too much there. That's okay. And I went a little too fast right there. I might have to fill that in. But this is a little bit above that face right here, which is what I want. And I'm a little heavier down here, so I probably could go up a little higher and not quite come down quite as much. But you're gonna do this a bunch of times. You're gonna do this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 times. So you'll get some practice in. So let's try it again on this side. I'm gonna go opposite there. We'll try it again. Go ahead and brush this off. Make sure we're nice and clean before we start. And we're gonna do it again. Okay, get it where you want it. Get nice and comfortable with where your hand's going to be. And I'm just going to weave that just like that. Okay, here we go. Welding. And it's a little cold. I probably could come down a little more. You see, I missed that whole edge right there. So I want to come down a little bit more. Okay. So let's do one more. Let's see if I can get this dialed in here. Before I was coming too low. Now I'm going too high. Let's try and do this one more time. And again, I already did the opposite side here. So we just did that. So we just did there. So I'm going to pick like, go right there. Okay. Let's clean it off one more time. See how we do. Okay, welding. That's much better. I went a little too fast right there, but this whole thing is being covered. I probably could turn it down a little bit. You can see how much heat. You can see this line down here. That's how much heat we're putting into this thing. So we're okay. Probably we could dial it down a little more, but we're going to leave it here, I think, for what we're doing. So I'm a little bit above the surface right there, just barely. I probably can come up a little bit more. But keep practicing. Try and get as consistent as you can, and then just work your way all the way around. Okay, so this is video part 1. So once you get to this point, we're going to, in video number 2, we're going to cover how we grind this and the best tools to use and best techniques. When you're done with this, go ahead, for my class, go ahead and put it on the slab of aluminum we have to kind of let this cool down naturally. Don't stick it in a bucket of water or put it in the sink, please, in my class. People tend to do that. Please don't do that. But make sure you clean all this as you weld, all these edges, lay your beads down, let it cool down, don't force it to cool down. And then coming up in video 2, we're going to talk about how to grind this, get it nice and smooth, take care of our corners, fill in anything that we missed. After that, we'll show you how we're actually going to locate our holes, how we drill the holes, how we countersink our holes, and this is going to be dead on. So stay tuned for video 2. That'll be out next week, and we'll see you in that one.